What is up? Welcome. I mean, no big deal. Welcome your fine ass over to the Fantastic Friday with me, Francesca Fiorentini. So happy you are here. So happy you're here in the present, the future, and the past. If you are the ghost of my past, I don't know. I haven't figured out how to way to end that. But what's a going on? What's a going on? Welcome to the show. Very excited to have you here. Obviously, this is the Friday show. This is a little extra for everybody. There's obviously the extra, the bonus episodes, which are available to all of our patrons in audio and video version. Patreon.com/Bitchuation Room. Thank you in advance for your support. I see you joining. Um, Let me say that it is truly the only thing that keeps this show alive are the patrons and the members and the subscribers over on Twitch. The only thing, this is a 1 million bajillion percent independent show, and I'm going to need you in the very near future. I fear I will need you more than ever. But welcome one and all. There's a lot to talk about today. We only have a few, God, what is it? 20 days, 19 days, 18 days? It's way too few days before the election. We're going to have some great guests on before then. I believe Greg Palast is going to be on next Friday, so that'll be exciting. We will have Maurice Mitchell of Working Families Party, who will be on live the Tuesday before the election, along with comedian Gianmarco Cerezi. And then for election night, I'll be streaming. I should create a graphic for this, but if you're listening, streaming live. Yes, we'll have an elaborate drinking game. We will have lots of other games. I don't know, mostly involving drinking. I wouldn't do it with weed just because, like, you don't want to get that high. Especially, it could be like a nightmare of a night. But from 5 p.m. Pacific to 8 p.m. Eastern, we're going to be streaming live. So I'll have a whole host of friends and comedians and experts, and they will be dropping by. Some people you've seen in the past. And so we will do that. We'll at least go until 8 Pacific. I assume we'll go even later than that. But anyway, you will not be alone on election night. I will be there. And yes, in 2016, I thought Donald Trump would lose. And yes, I suggested that AJ Plus hire a mariachi band for that moment when he did lose or would have lost. And no, he did not lose. And yes, the mariachi band was ultimately comforting me in my moment, an hour of great distraught. And it was to date one of the funniest things that's ever happened to me. So I will not be hiring a mariachi band for this, but we can plan some music, if we know the official results the night of. There'll probably be a lot of crap that we won't know. There'll be a lot of stalling. There'll be a lot of, we will see. I feel like the second storming of the Capitol in January, if Donald Trump loses, will be just like every reboot and be a lot worse. A lot fewer people, shittier actors. We won't get piano key scarf lady. We won't get QAnon shaman. We won't get dude with the Holocaust denial t-shirt. We won't, you know what I mean? It'll just be like a reenactment of Jan 6th, and everyone will have bought their costumes off of Amazon. It just won't be like the flex cuffs won't be as good. Um, so we all have a very exciting fall, winter, and spring to look forward to. It's gonna be good. Welcome, U.S. Combat Vet, as a new member. I appreciate you. Thank you for supporting this show. Um, there is a lot to talk about, so let's just get into the murder of Yahya. I think his name is Yahya Sinwar, who was one of the heads of Hamas, was killed by the IDF, and it's over, right? It's over. Are we done now? Can we call off the genocide? Oh, no. Israel, and its Iran allied foes. I love this. I love Reuters, good old Reuters. Iran aligned foes. Are we just erasing Palestinians or just like, cool, cool. We're just engaging in this language. Vows more war after Hamas leader's death. So no, after Yahya was killed, Israel's like, no, we want more. We would like more. Um, again, he was supposedly one of the masterminds of October 7th. Benjamin Netanyahu called his killing a milestone, but vowed to keep up the war, which in recent weeks expanded from fighting Hamas in Gaza into an invasion and pursuit of Hezbollah in Lebanon. This war, my dear ones, ugh, is not over, is not yet over, Netanyahu told Israelis late on Thursday, saying fighting would continue until hostages held by Hamas are released. I'm sorry, quick follow-up. Were you gonna negotiate to get those hostages released? No? Oh, okay, cool. You're just violently? You were gonna violently do, and are you aware that the only thing that has actually freed hostages at this point was negotiation and not violence? You aware of that fact? Okay, cool. Just making sure. So they're just double checking they're collateral, right? And then you don't care about their lives or their families that have been protesting you? Tight, tight, tight. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just wanna make sure. As long as the hostages exist, it's amazing. Netanyahu really, like, this is the genocide that keeps on giving for him, because so long as there is even the idea of a hostage still alive, he can always use it to kill more people, colonize more territory, invade Lebanon, on and on and on. It's beautiful. It's brilliant. You might say that the hostages are as useful as a device as, I don't know, the militant group Hamas has been useful to him, as he supported their rise, made sure they were well funded so that they would be the boogeyman so-called terrorists that would be in contrast to the Palestinian Authority, which was 100% under his thumb and 100% sort of like, I mean, not 100%, but much more compliant. And they could be the holdout as like, well, look, we'd give you a Palestinian state, but look at Hamas. Look at these extremists. And the reason I say so-called terrorists, because if you're going to call Hamas terrorists, you absolutely 100% need to call the IDF terrorists. And you need to call the state of Israel terrorist state. It is. That is what it is raining down. Now, it is important and interesting. We have seen so-called bad guys, right? Our enemies. Okay, legitimate bad guy. People like Saddam Hussein, Muammar Gaddafi. Saddam Hussein had more of a sham legal process that led to his ultimate hanging. Muammar Gaddafi was basically killed in a ditch, found in a ditch and killed. We've seen sort of like these kinds of moments. You don't actually see the moment that Sinwar is killed, but you do see how in the moments leading up to it. And I do think it's interesting because a lot of people are pointing out that it looks kind of brave. That is the word. Nobody's justifying it. No one's saying he looks like a hero. It just looks kind of brave. The IDF decided to release this video footage, this drone video footage, the drone that actually went to go kill him. They decided to release this to show you that they got him, that you should be scared and whatnot. And yet it does kind of the opposite of that. So here it is. It's flying into the second story of a building that's been completely bombed out. Jesus Christ, it looks like a video game. It's fucking psychotic how much drone warfare makes it look like a video game. It stops. You see a figure on the left there. It is sort of hovering. The figure is looking at the drone camera. Now, what's important to know is that Sinwar has no hand, that basically like his forearm to his hand have been completely lobbed off. You see that on the right there, his right arm. The drone's there, and this is sort of like Israeli intelligence, which I assume is just this fucking American taxpayer drone intelligence footage. Oh no, sorry, this is in post. But in post, they go over and they sort of do this like T1000 situation. Whatever the Terminator is, I don't fucking know. And they outline Sinwar in red, and they're like, all right, just so you know, this is where he is. And now Sinwar is holding something in his other hand, and they outline that. It looks like a stick, and then he proceeds to throw it at this drone that he knows is about to kill him. But he's trying to get it. He's waiting. There you go. The drone moves, it's able to avoid it, and we assume that he is then killed by it. Up until the last moments, this guy was fighting. This guy was not hiding. This guy was not strapped in babies, used them as human shields. He was there alone. He then throws a stick at this drone. Now, it's very interesting to know that, again, a couple things about how he's killed. If you're wanting to do like straight, bullshit hero worship, right? And soldier worship. These aren't IDF soldiers putting themselves in harm's way. They are not going into the building. They are not going and shooting. There is no boot on any ground here. This is drone warfare. This is robotic warfare. So let's be real. A little cowardly on the grand scheme of so-called warfare, right? So there's that. The other thing to know is, if they can go after people with tiny little drones that can, go into people's apartments, homes, through windows, and look a terrorist in the face, a militant, and murder him, why the fuck haven't they been doing this before? Why weren't they doing this throughout this entire year of genocide? Why weren't they just sending little micro drones? I don't know. All the technology that supposedly we're supposed to revere that Israel has. Why weren't they doing that? It's because they wanted to maximize civilian casualties. They wanted to maximize building destruction. They wanted to maximize the destruction of hospitals, the destruction of bakeries, the destruction of refugee camps, the destruction of specifically maternity wards and children in order to ethnically cleanse and erase them. That is the point. Right? I mean, it would be pretty amazing to send a drone in to kill a woman baking bread, which, or people in a line for food, which just this week in Jabalia happened. These are the actions of cowards. I'm sorry. These are the actions of fucking cowards. These are the actions of people with no regard for international law and who think they look tough by releasing these videos. And honestly, it is backfiring on them. They don't look tough here. And I did want to look, Vice News does a lot of unconventional interviews, and they did interview Sinwar when he was alive and before the actual October 7th. Actually, no, October 17th. What's important is to listen to what he is saying and how he speaks about Israel, how he speaks about his group. Says Israel, which possesses a complete arsenal of weaponry, intentionally bombs and kills our children and women. And they do that on purpose. You can't compare those who resist and defend themselves with weapons that look primitive in comparison. I mean, let's just be real. Weapons that look primitive in comparison. The guy threw a stick. That wasn't because he's like a savage barbarian. I'm sure the IDF is loving it in the group chat right now, along with their photos of them posing in Palestinian women's lingerie. But he threw a stick because that's all he fucking had. We had the capabilities that targeted their military targets. We wouldn't have used the rockets that we did. We're forced to defend our people with what we have, and this is what we have. What are we supposed to do? Should we raise the white flag? That's not going to happen. Does the world expect us to be well-behaved victims while we're getting killed? Does the world expect us to be well-behaved victims while we're getting killed? I mean, That look, that is the essence of resistance struggles, right? That is, in effect, the essence of what author Ta-Nehisi Coates has been going around saying, which is that I don't advocate against occupation because I think that the Palestinian resistance is perfect or angelic. In fact, there's nothing the Palestinians could do in the terms of, their behavior that would make me say that occupying another people, subjecting them to apartheid, and, for example, in Gaza, running an open air prison that you control fully, that anything that they could do that would make that okay. And so this is what he's saying. What do you want us to do as victims? Do you want us to basically enjoy this? Do you expect us to be well behaved victims while we're getting killed? For us to be slaughtered without making a noise? Like, I also think that, a lot of us, because we've been told that Iran funds Hamas, and, there's some imagination that, like, Hamas is, like, really, really, like, again, like, really advanced. Like, they have all this modern warfare technology, and they don't. They truly don't. I mean, you're talking about Iran. Iran doesn't even have a nuke, right? If we're being real. So this idea that they are like, that they're an advanced military, number one, there have been comparisons made in this entire genocide comparing Hamas to the Japanese in World War II, the most ahistorical, bogus ass comparison. And it's like, well, we need to drop the bombs in order to get them to stop, which is, again, I can't even get into like how wrong all that is. But the idea that you think that Hamas is like Japan, okay. Like, I want whatever you're smoking. But this is really it. It's, do you want us to be slaughtered without making a noise? And the recognition that October 7th was terrible and, awful, the murder of innocent civilians, it was not good. It was also an act of massive desperation after years and years of demonstration, protests where people were killed, the right to return marches, on and on and on, that, comfortable ass Westerners like ourselves were like, what? Who? I wasn't even paying attention. October 7th was an act of desperation. It has to be contextualized in a history of the Israel-Palestine occupation, conflict, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, look, I don't play this to venerate anybody. I'm playing this to understand, better understand resistance movements, better understand Palestinians living in Gaza.
التي تقتل دون أن يرتفع لها صوت هذا غير ممكن بالمطلق. نحن
We decided to defend our people with whatever weapons we have. So there we go. And it reminds me of a line from what is the line from, God damn it, the documentary about, is it the documentary about the French occupation of Algeria? The Battle of Algiers. It's not a documentary. The Battle of Algiers is a wonderful film, and in it, the resistance movements who were resisting French colonial occupation were saying, we use bombs, like makeshift bombs, because we don't have warplanes. If you want to give us warplanes, we will attack with warplanes. Maybe that will get you to respect our resistance, because again, it's like, it reminds me of the Eddie Izzard line way back in the day, where he goes like, if you kill one person, you're a mass murderer. It's evil. It's awful. Oh my God. Or sorry, if you kill one person, you're a murderer. It's terrible. But if you kill millions and millions and millions of people, everyone's like, wow, pretty well done. Like, you're a big guy, like there's like a level of respect when you are, a psychotic mass murderer. Obviously it's a joke, but the same thing applies. Like, what do you want? It's such a chicken or the egg with the Palestinian resistance, because they are terrorists by virtue of the fact that they don't have a state, and by virtue of the fact that they don't have but the whole fight is to create a state, is to not be stateless people with ever decreasing amounts of land and rights and ability to live their lives. So anyway, I'm so glad this is going to change everything. I'm so glad that Kamala Harris did her little "We Got 'em" video. Just so unnecessary, people. Philip Schwartz, thanks for the super chat. When does BB say Israel needs living space? Oh, you mean like those old what is it? Schoolhouse Rocks that are like elbow room. Remember when they did the Schoolhouse Rocks did a whole episode about basically the conquest of the West and, like, you know, mass murder of Native Americans, and they were like, elbow room. We just called it elbow room. You call it settler colonialism. We were just like elbow room, elbow room. It's just like this like sunniest portrait. One day, you know, I only imagine that, yes, if the state of Israel still exists in its current form, because I believe it should exist in a different form, they will be telling their kids through cartoons how the conquest of Gaza was just about needing a little bit more space. Just need a little bit more room. Canatroll, you're the best. Thank you so much for that super chat. Very, very sweet. All right, let's mix it up because I can't be too sad for too long on a Friday. Okay, let's talk about, we got to talk about Kamala Harris going on Fox News. Big moves. We're in a time when Donald Trump can't even do a softball podcast interview. The guy is allegedly tired. He's backing out of his interviews. He backed out of a CNBC interview. He backed out of a 60 Minutes interview. We talked about that. He did do a town hall this week, and we will get to it. But Kamala Harris was on Fox News on Wednesday afternoon, and there was just a couple of choice moments that I wanted to point out. Brett Baier, who looks like if the shark from Nemo got like too much Botox. Anyway, just like he's got such a like he will have this face forever. You know what I mean? It's just gonna get harder and harder and harder. I'm sorry. I know how some of you are probably like, you really talk about people's cosmetic surgery a lot. I know. So here's a few moments from that interview, and I think it was a good move for Kamala, and I think Harris did a good job on this. There were a lot of bad faith moments. There was a lot of bad moments, but all in all, I think it was the right move. Now, the other thing to know is that Brett Baier interrupts her constantly to the point where it's almost embarrassing, and they like walk away from the edge of like getting up and leaving, but only barely. Like Kamala Harris during this interview is a lit like about to be like, are you fucking serious? Like, are you truly not going to let me answer the question because you don't like what I'm saying? You're going to come in with some other response. And nowhere is that clearer than the first 8 minutes of this interview, which are like solely dedicated to immigration.
Thank you for the.
So I did want to just talk about that because he's trying to get her to be like, yes, Biden and I have blood on our hands, and I admit it, and on and on and on. So here is he plays for her a woman who alleges, and again, a lot of this, and I haven't been able to find, but a lot of this is like very much not able to be fact checked. Basically, like I have to be full disclosure, I haven't done my due diligence as to whether or not these cases of like this one guy who was, you know, released by Border Patrol, then went on, and it was because of Joe Biden who single-handedly like gave him a fist bump while he was on his way out, like murdered this civilian. So I just but for the first like 7 minutes, that's all Brett Baier can talk about. It's Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, the failed border czar, even though she wasn't a border czar, the failed border policies that led to the murder of beautiful, innocent, mostly white, but not all, mostly white women.
20 days.
will determine whether we have a president of the United States who actually cares more about fixing a problem, even if it is not to their political advantage in an election, because there was a solution, Brett.
Madam Vice President, it was a policy decision in the early part of your administration. I will let one of the mothers talk about it. Take a listen.
Also, sorry, really, before you listen to this, it's so funny to me that, like, we're parsing this when we know that one of the things, but, like, they can't say it. One of the things that Kamala Harris did was continue the Title 42, or excuse me, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris did was continue Title 42 under Trump that denied people asylum, and then they got sued just like the Trump administration got sued. They did a lot to not reverse immigration policy.
Because of the Biden-Harris administration open border policies catch and release, they were enrolled in the Alternatives to Detention program. This meant that they were released into the United States. It was not even a full 3 weeks later that they would take my daughter, Jocelyn Nungare's life. I believe the Biden-Harris administration open border policies are responsible for the death of my daughter.
That's the early days. So do you owe them an apology is what I'm saying.
I will tell you that I am so sorry for her loss. I'm so sorry for her loss, sincerely. But let's talk about what is happening right now with an individual who does not want to participate in solutions. Let's talk about that as well.
But do you want to answer
in all
her?
fairness, I told you, I feel awful for what she and her family have experienced.
During that time, you said repeatedly that the border was secure. When in your mind did it start becoming a crisis?
I think we've had a broken immigration system transcending, by the way, Donald Trump's administration, even before. Let's all be honest about that. I have no pride in saying that this is a perfect immigration system. I've been clear. I think we all are.
I just think this is an amazing answer. Like, I think that he's trying to get her every which way, and this is a good answer, number one, meaning the border crisis has, if there is one, predates me and Joe. It predates Trump. It predates Obama. It's really Bush's fault. Let's go back. But it's just like, it's a good response. And it was also a good response to say, I am sorry for this woman's loss. This is real. Okay. I buy into your narrative, whatnot. Now, first of all, the framing, if you're listening, they're making Kamala Harris, she looks like Jimmy Carter and his wife looked like next to Joe Biden. They're making her look the small little person. Like, she is tiny, which is, again, by design. Brett Baier looks like a hunking monster. But anyway, so I thought this was a very good answer.
That it needs to be fixed. We need more. I was just down at the border talking with border agents, and they will tell you, and I'm sure you probably, I know you investigate and you are a serious journalist. They will tell you, we need more judges. We need to process those cases faster. We need the support for those cases that should be prosecuted. They need more resources, and Congress ultimately is the only place that's going to get fixed, Brett. Well, that's how this system works.
So I love this. I think she could have done a lot more, but again, she's on Fox News, and this is very good, saying we need more immigration officers. I wish she would have a counter to, look, what do you want me to get on board with mass deportation? Absolutely not. That is not the right course of action, and it would be an economic blow to this country, to say nothing of inhumane. And we'll get to that in a little bit, because Donald Trump has his moment responding to his proposals of mass deportation. But moving on this interview, which again, my guy's just interrupting her left and right. She's maintaining her cool. She's honestly, she looks really like, it's just presidential. It's good. She does not let him get under her skin, even though he tries and tries and tries and tries and tries. Let's go to another moment here. So he's basically trying to get her on the, oh, you support trans-affirming care for inmates, don't you?
Want it to stop because it's every commercial, but many of them add noise, but a few of them seem to break through. This particular one from the Trump campaign has gotten a lot of attention.
Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners.
Surgery.
For prisoners.
For prisoners. Every transgender inmate in the prison system would have access.
So are you still in support of using taxpayer dollars to help prison inmates or detained illegal aliens to transition to another gender?
I will follow the law. And it's a law that Donald Trump actually followed. You're probably familiar with, now it's a public report, that under Donald Trump's administration, these surgeries were available on a medical necessity basis to people in the federal prison system. And I think, frankly, that ad from the Trump campaign is a little bit of like throwing, stones when you're living in a glass house.
The Trump aides say that.
I mean, it's just like, that's a good answer. Like, and again, the line could have been from her, absolutely not. I think it's awful. We shouldn't, these are criminals, and we shouldn't give any money to for their trans affirming care or their health care at all, right? And like, let's put aside how much how like our prison industrial complex and our prison system and the federal prisons. But yes, it is federal law. Although, let's be real on how much it actually gets followed. You can only imagine how much this actually gets adhered to. I'm sure all the prison guards and, the doctors who work in federal prisons are really checking in with all their trans inmates. But it is on the rule books. I mean, it's the same reason. These kinds of things are the reason why the right calls, our military woke, because the military does provide trans affirming care and also provides abortion care. Two things that they think are somehow culture wars and not an issue of basic healthcare and human rights. So again, that I thought was a really, really good answer. Okay, one more piece and then we'll move on.
And that people are exhausted with someone who professes to be a leader who spends full time demeaning and engaging in personal grievances and it being about him instead of the American people. People are tired of that.
If that's the case, why is half the country supporting him? Why is he beating you in a lot of swing states? Why, if he's as bad as you say, that half of this country is now supporting this person who could be the 47th president of the United States? Why is that happening?
This is an election for president of the United States. It's not supposed to be easy.
I know, but
it's not supposed to be. It is not supposed to be a cakewalk for anyone.
So are they misguided, the 50%?
Listen,
are they stupid? What is it?
I would never say that about the American people. And in fact, if you listen to Donald Trump, if you watch any of his rallies, he's the one who tends to demean and belittle and diminish the American people. He's the one who talks about an enemy within, an enemy within, talking about the American people, suggesting he would turn the American military on the American people.
We asked that question to the former president today. Harris Faulkner had a town hall, and this is how he responded.
I heard about that.
Okay, before we get into this, I thought that was brilliant. Are you saying they're stupid? No, I would never say that. And again, with the stealth diss, like, she is able to do something that I think, well, personally, I cannot do, which is pull punches when it comes to this bloviating asshole. It's like she's able to stealth diss while lifting up the voters and says, I would never say that. And so there is this olive branch. There is this, there is this attempt to reach Fox News viewers. I don't think you're stupid. Aren't we tired of the drama? Like, it's good. This is good. And it also, the other thing this doesn't feel is it doesn't feel rehearsed. My girl, she pop half a Zanny, you know what I'm saying? She relaxed. Like, she is relaxed on this. I don't know how, but she is. And then here, she's saying the enemy within, which we all know he was saying, it's not just immigrants, it's basically political dissidents, people who disagree with U.S. policy, people who protest. These are the real enemies as well. And they're the enemy within. And he's like, well, we've got that clip, but it's not the clip.
They were saying I was like threatening. I'm not threatening anybody. They're the ones doing the threatening. They do phony investigations. I've been investigated more than Alphonse Capone. He was the greatest gangster. No, it's true. No, but think of it. It's called weaponization of government. It's a terrible thing.
So,
Brett, I'm sorry, and with all due respect, that clip was not what he has been saying about the enemy within, that he has repeated when he's speaking about the American people. That's not what you just showed.
Well, he was asked about that specific.
No, that's not what you just showed. In all fairness and respect to you,
that was the question that we asked him.
You didn't show that, and here's the bottom line. He has repeated it many times, and you and I both know that. And you and I both know that he has talked about turning the American military on the American people. He has talked about going after people who are engaged in peaceful protest. He has talked about locking people up because they disagree with him. This is a democracy. And in a democracy, the president of the United States, in the United States of America, should be willing to be able to handle criticism without saying he'd lock people up for doing it. And this is what is at stake, which is why you have someone like the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff saying what Mark Milley has said about Donald Trump being a threat to the United States of America.
He's quoted in the Bob Woodward book that way.
Okay, so just body slams this dude. Like, there is a moment where, again, like, you know, Brett's Botox won't let his face actually fall, but like there's like a millimeter of fall. He just relaxed it. Like, he was like, finds his happy place because she's kind of crushing that answer. And no, they didn't play it. And later, he admits that he did make a mistake and they should have played the actual clip because he was like, oh, look, we have it, but it's not. It's Donald Trump making a joke about, oh, they say I say fascist things. Can you believe it? I'm more persecuted than Al Capone. Whoops. Did I make a suggestion that I'm a mafioso? Yeah, well, did I make it worse? Oopsies. Back to eating glue. Like, what the Anyway, it was a good interview. It is true. Just to thank people thanking me, Bring Out Your Dead Dragon. Appreciate your coverage of this interview. Thanks for showing the clips that others are not. Yeah, what's interesting is like there's a little bit of the beginning where Brett is kind of running the table because he's interrupting her, and all he has is like, this person died because of a migrant. What do you have to say? And say what you will, it's kind of a good tack for him to go on. And I thought she handled it pretty damn well. I mean, not the way I would like to see, but in terms of for the Fox News audience, she handled it well. She lamented, but was like, look, the main thing is Donald Trump's in the way of getting this, in my opinion, draconian border bill passed. But there you go. So say what you will. And oh, will we, if and when we get this woman elected, but she will not advocate for pushing Palestine demonstrators off of bridges. And she said it right there. She might accuse them of low-key anti-Semitism, fun, but, you know, it can always get worse. Anyway, let's go to Donald Trump. How's he doing? He must be crushing it this week. He decided that I could do a Univision town hall. Oh, Kamala is the only one who can talk to the Latins. I could talk to the people I hate. Hell yeah, I'll talk to them. So Donald Trump went on Univision, vamos, and he spoke to a number of voters. And I swear to God, we have seen more nuanced discussion about what is wrong with America's immigration policies and specifically Donald Trump's policies in the last two Univision town halls than we've seen on mainstream news in, I don't know, 4 years, 5 years, 8 years, 10 years. I think we should only hear political opinions of Latinos through Univision in swing states. Like, I'm fine with that. If all we hear is like from people from like New Mexico and Arizona, and like we can throw Texas, but like only Latinos, like I'm fine with that. Like if every diner conversation stops interviewing like the old whites and just talks to like average Latino voters, like that I feel like would be better. Like no more Jake Tapper, no more Dana Bash, no more everybody. Because listen to how brilliant this is and listen to how disrespectful Donald Trump's answer is.
He trabajado toda mi vida con estas manos, agachado por horas piscando fresa, cortando brócoli.
Good evening, President Trump. For many years, I have worked with these hands, hunched over, picking strawberries and cutting broccoli.
Now, oh boy. Whew. The tanning bed is just like the goggles are really doing a number on the eyes here. So you need to know that before this man starts speaking, Donald Trump offhand says, "Great hair." Kind of a weird, like a very weird, inappropriate comment. I've spent my whole life crouched down, picking fruit, picking strawberries and broccoli for your fat ass.
Este
Although
duro
Sue doesn't eat broccoli.
trabajo es realizado en su mayoría por gente indocumentada.
This tough job is mainly done by undocumented people.
Si usted deporta a esta gente, ¿quién haría ese trabajo y qué precio pagaríamos por la comida?
If you deport to these people, who would do that job and what price would we pay for food?
Amazing. Oh, you see what was done? I think that was a 40 second, in less than a minute. Mr. Jorge Velasquez is able to problematize mass deportation and the demonization of undocumented people and that impact on the economy in a way that no fucking CNN anchor has been able to do in their entire lives. I mean, let alone would they ever put an actual person who lives in the real world and on their shows. They would never talk to a migrant. We spoke about Haitian migrants on Wednesday for the bonus episode. If you guys become patrons, you can watch it back. How are the Haitian migrants doing? CNN wouldn't know. Mainstream news wouldn't know. Univision, okay. Pretty good. So this is just amazing. First of all, who the fuck's going to work this job? Who do you expect to work this? Who do you expect to get up at 4 a.m? Who do you expect to work in the hot sun? Who do you expect to do this with, obviously virtually no breaks? And how much should they be American citizens? How much do you expect them to be paid? And how much would that how much would that new cost be obviously shifted to the consumer by no choice of our own? Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm not saying that if we, the progressive left, could have it our way, we would have pathways to citizenship, we would have work visas, we would have the right to organize, which, by the way, the Biden administration has stood behind undocumented people in their right to organize. We would have the right to organize. We would still pay fairly, affordable, low prices for your broccoli, your strawberries. And it's the agribusinesses, it's the mass consolidation of a lot of these farms, which, again, are increasingly being bought up by billionaires. Those are the motherfuckers that would have to pay a living wage, right? Healthcare, negotiate with their union, on and on and on and on and on. That is the vision. That is the hope. That is the goal. It can be seasonal work. People can leave. People can come back. It doesn't have to just be undocumented people. Of course, it shouldn't be just undocumented people. Documented people historically are taken advantage of. There can be balance. Anyway, here is Donald Trump's brilliant ass. I mean, God, he really... If you think that answer was good, listen to this. And we're stalling. Let's reload. Okay. Here we go. All right, I'm just going to read some comments until this plays. Camperman 5000 said about Kamala Harris, she's got that Focus CBD gummy. That's so funny. She really did. She was really switched on. Sarah Benchley, thanks for your super chat, says, Fran, I'm voting right now. Oh, dude, I wanted to do a breakdown of the California ballot, and I will very soon. I was thinking about doing that on my Instagram. I have not voted, but I have my ballot. This is driving me Nuts. U.S. Combat Vet, thank you for your super chat and for becoming a member. Tell it like it is, Francesca. We have the luxury to point fingers and assume we know it's all from the comfort of our homes. Yeah.
Piscando fresa, cortando brócoli.
Good evening, President Trump. For many years,
En su mayoría, si usted deporta comida,
if you deport to these people, who would do that job and what price would we pay for food?
Please. Finished, yes?
Yes.
So
Finished,
the problem
yes?
we have
Are you
is
done?
we had people coming in under my administration, and they were coming in legally. They were coming in through a system that we had, which was great, because I'm the best thing that ever happened to farmers. You know that. I was great. You know, farmers are doing very badly right now, very, very badly under this administration. Under my administration,
I'm sorry, what the fuck? Who? What? He's talking about farm workers. You're talking about you're talking about like the poultry magnates. You're talking about like the soy kingpins. Like who are you talking about? The people you golf with at Mar-a-Lago? They're having a great time under your presidency. We're talking about the food you eat.
farmers did very well. We have to have a lot of people come into our country. We just want them to come in legally through a system, because they've released hundreds of thousands of people that are murderers, drug dealers, terrorists. They're coming in totally, nobody knows who they are, where they come from. And the people that are most against it are the Hispanic people.
Jesus Christ. I love, oh my God, the art of a white man explaining to a room full of insert group of people of color, explaining them who they are and how they vote is just mwah. You cannot top this in terms of white tone deaf privilege. Like, you cannot top a man race-splaining your problems to you. It's so good.
Totally against it, what's happened. The other thing I can say is that a lot of the jobs that you have and that other people have are being taken by these people that are coming in. And the African-American population.
What are you saying? What are you saying? You're saying you shouldn't should not work alongside the undocumented people. You should be mad that they're here because they're taking your job. Well, sir, he's already a farm worker. He's got the job. These are his coworkers. He might have been undocumented himself at one point in time. Maybe he employs undocumented people. Like, what the fuck are you saying? So, okay, so you're saying you'd rather them not come and take those jobs. So I guess what he is saying, a work scarcity, fewer people to work those jobs, or people you have to pay a lot more to work those jobs. And like, this is where his argument breaks down in real time if it ever upheld. But all you got to do is go, hey, let's take the argument and test it against the winds of reality here. And okay, pick an industry, farm work, brilliant example. It doesn't apply. That whole fear mongering doesn't work.
Population and the Hispanic population in particular are losing jobs now because millions of people are coming in. So they're coming in.
Quite the opposite. In fact, we know, and I don't even care about this answer. We know that there are farms that are laying fallow and they struggle to find farm workers because people are afraid of detention and deportation. I went to, God, where were we? We were in California somewhere. I went to an egg farm back in 2016 before we were doing some election coverage. This is I guess, when, I was with AJ Plus. We went to an egg farm, and the video was basically like, are immigrants stealing American jobs? And at this egg farm, the owner of it was like, I can't find people to work anymore because people are scared of Donald Trump and him, promising to deport immigrants and go after them. And he's like, I've had non-immigrants work here. I've had, like teens, white teenagers, come work on this egg farm. They don't last. They last for like a few weeks and that's it. it is hard work. It is inherently hard work, and it's hard work. I'm assuming it's like you can also still pay. You could pay $15 an hour. You could pay 20. I mean, I knew this. Obviously, this guy didn't, but like, it is not just hard work that is underpaid. It's just hard work, period, right? There's not a lot of people who are going to get up at 3 or 4 or 5 in the morning to work on an egg farm or work in a pork processing plant. That shit is dangerous. It's disgusting. It is, and it's grueling, right? And we've seen that. I mean, we saw under the Trump administration, raids, early morning raids on, on specifically meat processing plants.
But they're also coming in largely, and tremendous numbers coming in out of mental institutions. They're emptying out mental institutions.
They're crazy. They're crazy about lettuce. They just come out of the institutions and they say, all I want to do is pick. I want to pick a lot of lettuce. I'm going to pick those strawberries and and it's not okay because they're stealing their jobs. That's all. Their aim is just, I must harvest vegetables because that's the insanity of these people. Like, what are you talking about? You're talking to a room of people who know undocumented people, who have family members abroad, who are not afraid of them, and who know that they're not criminals.
Institutions, they're emptying out insane asylums. That's a step above a mental institution. Worse, bigger problems, bigger problem people. They're emptying out jails. Their jails are being let into our country from Venezuela, but not just South America, from all over the world. They're being let in from jails, from nobody's ever seen anything like it. The jail population throughout the world has come way down, and it's all coming into the United States of America. So we
yes, I'm sure. Sure, yes. There's one thing we know about Central America, for example. It's that the prison population in El Salvador is very low. We've spoken about Bukele before. Complicated figure, but definitely no one can say the prison population there is low. Just I can't. It's just, and you know what? Kamala Harris's answers weren't much better. I mean, they were a lot better, but they still didn't present like a positive vision. But this is it's like, yeah, man. Haven't you seen A Day Without an Immigrant, the movie that imagines, or excuse me, A Day Without a Mexican? If all Mexican immigrants weren't around, the economy would crash. We need immigrant labor. This country runs on immigrant labor. Insert best Thanksgiving meme ever where family prays and thanks Jesus. Next slide. Farm worker named Jesus saying gracias. It's the best meme. I challenge you to find me a better one. And Jules Chi, thank you so much for your super chat, says migrant women who are sexually exploited can't report the crime for fear of being deported. Exactly. I mean, there is no reason. I mean, it's the same thing with like any precarious work, right? There is reason that we believe in, sex work legalization is because it better protects people. This is a job that will always exist. It will always exist. It will always be precarious. That's the nature of things like that. Farm work is never gonna just get easier, right? Anyway, that's that answer. Here's a guy. He's speaking English. He's a Latino voter. Oh, hey, guess what? He's a former Trump voter. Now he's trying to level with Donald Trump. He's like, look, I got one question for you. Real simple. This is only 13 seconds. I might have fucked this one up. Hang on. That seems too short. Franny gonna do better real quick. Let me just find it. Everybody talk amongst yourselves. Think amongst yourself if this is the future. Because it's a lot longer than 13 seconds might be. I don't want to even play it. I don't want to even. A ver. Hang on. Oh boy. Okay. This is taking me longer than I thought. This is actually painful for me to watch. Here we go.
Action was taken, strong action. Ashley Babbitt was killed. Nobody was killed. There were no guns down there. We didn't have guns. But that was a day of love from the standpoint of the millions. It's like hundreds of thousands. Action was taken, strong action. Ashley Babbitt was killed. Nobody was killed. There were no guns down there. We didn't have guns. But that was a day of love from the standpoint of the millions. It's
So he said it was a day of love, and that's why you get that face. But here is the full context. I apologize for taking so long.
Republican no longer. I want to give you the opportunity to try to win back my vote. Okay. Your
Ramiro Gonzalez works in
action
construction.
and maybe inaction during your presidency and the last few years, sort of, was a little disturbing to me. What happened during January 6th, and the fact that you waited so long to take action while your supporters were attacking the Capitol. Coronavirus, I thought the public was misled during coronavirus, and that many more lives could have been saved if we would have been informed better. And also people in your administration who don't support you. I'm curious how people so close to you and your administration no longer want to support you. So why would I want to support you? If you would answer these questions for me, I would really appreciate it and give you the opportunity. There's, your own vice president doesn't want to support you now.
Thank you, Ramiro.
So Ramiro just read Donald Trump. Like, number one, I feel like you didn't show leadership both on January 6th and during the coronavirus. That was, let's be real, low points. And also, why does no one who worked with you support you running for president? I mean, he should be like, Giuliani still does. I mean, what about the people who are caught up in the RICO charges? Maybe they still do. Has anyone checked in on Sidney Powell lately? Mike Lindell still supports Donald Trump. Okay, that guy is always going to support him, all right? So don't say nobody, but I guess nobody officially, nobody in like any real position of power, just sort of side character influencers. Yeah, I guess they still support Donald Trump.
So the people that don't support a very small portion. We have a tremendous, about 97% of the people in the administration support me. But because it's me, somebody doesn't support, they get a little publicity. The vice president, I disagree with him on what he did. I totally disagreed with him on what he did. Very importantly, you had hundreds of thousands of people come to Washington. They didn't come because of me. They came because of the election. They thought the election was a rigged election, and that's why they came. Some of those people went down to the Capitol. I said peacefully and patriotically, nothing done wrong at all.
I'm sorry, chat and listeners, what did he say on January 6th? Did he say peacefully? Did he say that? I think he said, we're going to march right down there to the Capitol building. And then he might have said, like, peacefully. I don't even think he said peacefully. I think he said, we're going to fight like hell.
Nothing done wrong. And action was taken, strong action. Ashley Babbitt was killed. Nobody was killed. There were no guns down there.
This woman's face. There were no guns down there. There were no guns. Are you kidding me?
We didn't have guns. The others had guns, but we didn't have guns. And when I say we, these are people that walked down. This was a tiny percentage of the overall, which nobody sees and nobody shows. But that was a day of love from the standpoint of the millions. It's like hundreds of thousands. It could have been the largest group I've ever spoken before. They asked me to speak. I went and I spoke.
They asked me to speak. I was the keynote speaker at my own insurrection. Oh, that's cool. Hope you got a good honorarium.
I use the term peacefully and patriotically. If you look at the Democrats, what they say, you look at Maxine Waters and you look at Hillary Clinton and you look at what they say, and they don't put that on. They only put Republicans on. But they couldn't get me because of the fact that I said Everything's got to be peaceful and patriotic. And
okay, what is he doing? He is simultaneously saying this is a day of love, but then / disowning anyone who was violent. They couldn't get me because I said it was supposed to be peaceful and they weren't. What is happening?
we'll see how it all works out. But I think that we're right now in another election. All I want is honest elections. I'm willing to take any chance. I want honest elections.
So this is just beautiful. Guys, almost 4 years later, and he doesn't have a better line than this. It was a day of love. We made sweet, sweet love, you know? I mean, to be fair, given how Donald Trump makes love, it was a day of love, right? Non-consensual and violent. It makes sense in his mind. Why doesn't it make sense in yours? Just incredible performance there by Donnie. Truly top shelf shit. Yeah, I obviously still nervous, but there's a few bright spots. There's just a few. Let me see if I can find one last little maybe palate cleanser. Speaking of white people in rural areas. Let me see if I can find this. But for right now, let me just read a couple of comments before I'm probably not gonna be able to find this. Thank you so much. Again, Rachel Atwood says, how should I celebrate my birthday tomorrow? First of all, happy birthday. Look, I just did karaoke for the first time in a while in a private booth, and it was by myself. No, I'm kidding. It was so fun. It was actually great. And I would suggest just a raucous fucking karaoke sesh. I don't know if that's not your thing. Laser tag, you know what I'm saying? I don't really know. I don't know what else to tell you. It's either karaoke, laser tag, or just like a swanky little cocktail situation, you know? Go to a place. Here's what my friends do to me. If you're listening, Becca, you know who you are. They always make me just spend all of my money on a restaurant that they like that's incredibly expensive. And I'm not a fancy eat out. I like nice food. I like good food, but I don't need to go to like fancy schmancy places. Also, Matt's sober, so like we don't like I drink, but we don't like go out to fancy places. And of course, now we have a kid, so you know, all life has ended for us. But you could just find the place that you've been wanting to go and just like bottles, and all your friends will pay for it. I know. Happy birthday. And Just Julie also wishing Rachel a happy birthday. Hope you focus on the beautiful things in this world, which can be so hard right now. I'll be celebrating all the joy and insight you bring to the Frantifa. Rachel, you do bring a lot of insight. Let's be real. Rachel always brings some good. There, I'm going to leave it at that. That's not what I wanted to say. Zane, the Magic Puffer Dragon said, let's get chatting about the news, Franny Fio. Love you so much. I subscribe twice on Patreon and YouTube. Wow, that's so nice of you. Patreon.com/Bitchuation Room, guys. Kick the show a few bucks. Literally, the only thing that makes it tick and run is you. You, I am beholden to. You, I shill for. You, only you. And I believe Only You was probably one of the songs on Donald Trump's playlist this week. So there's also that, and that was fun. Philip Schwartz says the rich dividing us through class warfare. Typical. The working class needs to come together and reject this solidarity forever. Yeah, 2028. 2028 general strike. Say what? Reminded us trial by combat. Rudy at the January 6th rally and riot. Fermion Talpin, love for the Palestinians that don't want to be killed. My God, yeah. Wilbro, thank you so much for that super chat and the instructor. And due to the floods and hurricanes because of climate change, these farm workers are now out of a job. Yes, and additionally to that. Okay, I cannot find what I wanted to show you, which was basically a bunch of white oldies. Two white old guys who said that they're voting for Kamala Harris because they can't vote for Donald Trump, but they couldn't even bring themselves to like say her name. But they were like, "Yep, got no choice, gonna do it." So It could be working. Meanwhile, this was a more, last thing I'm going to do, a more favorable town hall by Donald Trump, where he speaks to women in battleground, Georgia, / room full of Donald Trump surrogate plants, which a number of them were found out to be later, talking about IVF.
I got a call from Katie Britt, a young, just a fantastically attractive person from Alabama. She's a senator. And she called me up like emergency, because
oh my God, this is just so good. Like, I'm building a grand thesis for you Republican women who, don't you see that the very last thing he said about Katie Britt, Senator Katie Britt, was that she's a senator? Again, this is the woman who gave the rebuttal to the State of the Union address. And it was psychotic, and it was breathy, and it was disturbing. And then you were disturbed and you threw her under the bus. And now you think she's attractive? Well, guess what? I'm talking about IVF. What are you doing? So Katie Britt calls him and was like, "Ooh, shit. I guess being anti-choice means that psychos are coming after IVF in Alabama. We need to reverse this ASAP." Okay, thanks. Bye. But he makes sure to say that she's a wonderfully attractive person, which we can only imagine is why he picked up the call in the first place. Again, you will always be reduced to how much you make men's dingalings do the dingaling. Like, no matter who you are, what you work in, like, that's going to happen. All right? And in my case, you got to become a patron first before you can do that. Then you can objectify me to high fucking hell. I don't give a shit. I'm just kidding. But I'm just saying, like, this is so disrespectful.
fantastically attractive person from
Fantastically attractive person. Look, Project 2025, if you're going to propose legislation, you must be fantastically attractive, and then I'll pay attention. Be fantastically attractive. You know, and then I'll listen. Otherwise, especially if you're a woman, it's a lot of pop, 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 you know, and I can't hear those tones. JP, thank you for that super sticker. I didn't shout you out, but that is so generous of you. You guys can always tip this show too through YouTube or TBR-Live on Venmo, TBR Live on Cash App, or Benjamin Morrill being such a sweetheart and giving out 5 memberships over on YouTube. Gobble those up and resubscribe, because Benjamin knows, as you all will soon know, that the bonus content is very worthwhile. Thanks, Zane, the Magic Puffer Dragon. We're here for you, Francesca Fiorentini, and I don't plan on going anywhere anytime soon. You're great on every platform, including AJ Plus was awesome too. Yes, I miss it all the time. And I will be on TYT in T-minus 45 minutes, you guys. There's a lot of Francesca on this Friday, and I'm actually sick of myself, and you should be too. That being said, subscribe to this channel, leave it the podcast 5 stars, do all the things, click all the buttons, ring the little bell so you know every time we're going live. Thank you guys so much for being here. We'll see you on Tuesday. We've got a banger of a show. And until then, fight the power, fuck the patriarchy, free Palestine, and don't just bitch about it, be about it. Bye.